The very thing that is making this business successful is also the very thing that's making it not successful.
When you decide to build a marketing agency, you are actually building your identity.
In that small-minded small business, you're your own worst enemy. And you kind of feel like you wake up every day and I'm the man. All systems run on me.
When you have to separate your identity from your agency and look at your agency as an asset, at some point you've got to stop being the man. In this episode, you're going to find out exactly how that's done. Welcome, Keith.
Hey, glad to be here, Tony. Thanks for having me on.
Tell me what got you into the agency space. What got you started in all this?
I grew up in a entrepreneurial home, saw my dad grinding in his small business, which was a hardscape landscape business. And it was tough to watch my dad. It was my hero. After 30 years of working within a business, go from hero to zero. It puzzled me why such a great guy could go through that. And I wanted to help him fix that. He had built a business around his incredible capabilities, and he was the bottleneck for growth in everything. He was very good at what he does, but he built his finance systems, his marketing systems, his sales systems, and his production systems all around his own capabilities, and that's where it stopped. So let's try to figure it out ourselves. So we learned how to build a website. We learned how to do search engine optimization, local SEO, and immediately my dad went from getting no jobs to getting residential jobs, good paying residential jobs in Seattle with people who are willing to put half down on the front and half down at the end of the project. And we started working with other clients as well. But while we were working with these other clients and building Fanit, we were also building that business too. Operationally, helping him with hiring people, right seats, right roles, quarterly planning. We started doing that within that business and we saw growth and ultimately bought that business in 2022 from my dad, helping him exit the business and also have the marketing agency as well.
Well, as you described kind of what you saw your dad go through and remembering that, and you probably see some of the same characteristics or a lot of the same characteristics in the contractors you guys work with at Fanit, the team works with Fanit. Do you see that coming out in those people? How do you see that in the people you work with?
Yeah. And I think that when we're in fight or flight, there's this desire to grow our business and there's the logic side of it and the desire and maybe our true heart, you could say. My dad's true heart was he wanted his sons to be entrepreneurs. On the flip side of that, when he was in fight or flight, he was like, I don't want you guys to have anything to do with this. This is too tough. And I see myself and I see other business owners as well. We all have that struggle. And that's the weird relationship we have with our businesses. It's like the very thing that is making this business successful is also the very thing that's making it not successful. And if you can't really tell what thing is successful or what's not. And if you tear it out, like if you take that business owner out, the whole business just fails because it's not organized, it's ran from the gut, and it's all on emotion versus a predictable system. So I would say that's more of what we see, not just in the home service world, but I mean that's true with all entrepreneurs.
So what are some of the things that we went through that kind of made you go, you know what, this probably happens multiple times. It's not just one thing, then you're done. But the change, first of all, in yourself that impacted the agency. Like, can you recall a time when you got like, you know what, I need to change or I need to do this differently? And then when you did it, you saw how that impacted the agency.
In that small-minded small business, you're your own worst enemy, going back to that illustration, and you're kind of the man. And you kind of feel like you wake up every day and I'm the man. All systems run on me. And you kind of, even if you don't say it, that's what's happening in the company. Yet your fight or flight takes over and your fight or flight is, well, I lean on myself. I'm the man. So I just do everything.
You should be proud of that. Like part of that is like you've built something.
Right. You built something. Yeah. But that becomes your worst enemy. Like the thing that you're most proud about becomes your worst enemy to scale. It becomes your ceiling of growth. So I I thought I was addressing that because I remember seeing that in my father. And I thought I was addressing that. I think I've had a soft heart towards trying to address that in my life. But it's just the nature of small business that that's going to happen. So don't try to be like, oh, that shouldn't happen at all. No, it is going to happen. And it kind of should happen because you can't really be successful without it. You got to be the man. You got to own every part of your business, but you also need to have wisdom in being able to see the problem. So it's the ability to be like, okay, well, at what point am I going to start giving up and trusting other people around me? And I think that probably the biggest place for me, there was a point in 2013 when you came in, I think, where I gave up trust. That was a place. I think in 2015 there was a place, and then in 2017 that was probably the biggest one where I had quite the fallout, not just with clients, but also with employees at the time. And it was a big mirror to me to look into and realize that the guy that I wanted to be, the leader I wanted to be, and who I thought I was as a man, I was getting a lot of feedback that actually was opposite of that. Not that I was a horrible person or anything like that. And there were a lot of kind words that you said at the time to me that were very helpful for me at that time. But I just realized that I guess it was kind of that moment of, okay, are you really going to level up to this next level or are you not? Because you're going to basically redo the thing that you've been doing for years, or you're going to change. And that's what that moment felt like for me. So I started diving into Extreme Ownership, the book Extreme Ownership, Leadership and Self-Deception, How to Keep Yourself Out of the Box, leadership books that helped me understand how I was supposed to think, the effective executive as well. And I just didn't really understand some basic things about leadership and how to help people be more successful. And still, like, that's all that there's a never ending opportunity of knowledge and application in that area to have. But I think I was able to start letting go. And part of the letting go too was being able to help other people be at that next level too. Because part of the problem was people around me couldn't, and I was not helping them. And I realized I needed to be somebody who helped those people with their growth. And one of the big things that struck me with the people who did leave at the time was I really hadn't. I mean, there were some areas where I was helping them professionally, but there was a lot of areas where I could have, and I wasn't, because I wasn't focused on the right thing. So that was a big eye opener for me.
Okay, so there's two things that you said that I really want to zoom in on. And the first one is, you said I had a soft heart in how I was approaching it. So I want you to drill into that a little bit. And then the other one is, obviously the in your mind, the shift in your role of what you were supposed to be doing as a leader. So those are two huge topics. So talk to me about like what you meant when you said I had a soft heart when I was approaching this. What does that mean?
Yeah, I think I would attribute this again to my father, who coached me growing up in sports. And he wanted me to have, he would drill into me, Keith, have a teachable spirit. And I would go to my coaches in sports, and he would talk to me afterwards about what it means to have a teachable spirit. I think that that's where that was developed, this idea of you need to work hard, you need to show up, you need to have pride in the work that you do. But at the same time, what does it mean to have a teachable spirit and be open when somebody's trying to teach you? So I think I was trying to walk in with that mentality into this. Like, got to have the confidence, you got to own the problem, but at the same time, you got to recognize that you're probably not right. And in all areas, maybe in some areas you've got it down. And even in the areas where you're not sure you have it down, you still have to show up and try. You still have to, and you have to try your best. But you need to have a teachable spirit as well. So you're open to feedback from other people. You're open to chasing feedback as well. Like, who's the coach in your life that you're going to chase that feedback from? Who's going to tell you that you're wrong, that you need to improve? Willing to be able to chase that. So I think that's where that probably came from, and to have a soft heart in that regard. I think Jocko Willink says, check your ego. I think that's another way of saying that. That works. Make sure and
Right.
check your ego.
So there's kind of this journey that you went on where you'd kind of been taught, probably at an early age, have a teachable spirit, which means you're open to knowing that maybe I don't know everything. So that kind of opens the door to okay, well, how do I go to a place where I'm running and responsible for everything, to where I need to trust other people to do other parts of this that maybe you can't as well, and they're just better at it than you are. Or there's another piece where it's you have to trust somebody that might not be as good at it as you are. That's probably mostly the case. But you still have to trust. And then your role shifts into, well, my role now is to help them be successful. So talk to me a little bit about those steps that you walked.
So when I was transitioning from being the doer to being more of a thinker, that was one of the biggest concepts that struck me with Peter Drucker's book, The Effective Executive. Like, there is the executive who's effective is a thinker, not a doer. Also, From Good to Great, that's another really wonderful book. Jim Collins just talks about how the effective executive isn't the loudest guy in the room. Usually when you look at the data, it's not the guy who's got the biggest personality. Often the most effective executives are people that are quiet and assume that other people are actually better than them at things. They don't assume that they're better. They enable other people around them. They draw a healthy line between trusting and verifying, and I guess you could say micromanaging. There's always a gray area there. A good manager, sometimes you might get feedback that you're a micromanager a little bit. One of the most effective executives today, Mark Zuckerberg, has been told that many times, that he is quite the micromanager. And well, if you get that feedback, sometimes maybe that means you're actually doing your job right. So some of the richest guys in the world, they draw that line well. But those were good feedbacks, because for me, I thought a good leader was somebody who, and this is the mirror of my father, right? Who's highly capable, a big personality, somebody who can do everything, and who will carry the burden for everyone around them. And that was what I felt. That was the pressure I felt. And part of that is, in a small business, you kind of do. Like, that is true. You do. Mm-hmm. But then when you start realizing, oh, okay, so actually effective leadership, there's a difference between that and what true leadership is, because the other one kind of isn't leadership. You're leading in a direction, but the intended leadership of enabling other people is different. So you're actually training people to not enable people, but enable themselves, which, okay, there's an element that's good there, but you can't build a big organization off of that. You can't build a company off of that. So I think that making that transition to being a person who focused more on other people and enabling other people, and trying to check and verify and become better at the management process, in that right people, right seats as well. At the time, I remember went to a guy, and because we had just hit 1 million, and we went to a guy at an IT company, Jason, who was at, I believe, 8 million, 5 or 8 million, somewhere in there. And that was just a wonderful example of reaching out to somebody and recognizing you don't have all the answers, because we had fires in our business and we were wondering, okay, what are some answers here? And he said, oh, well, have you read the book Rockefeller Habits? Oh, no. You don't have an operational management system in your business. Okay, well, that's a problem. And also leadership and self-deception as well. He recommended both those. And those are powerful, powerful books that we started implementing in the business. So there was that. But I would say one other final thing. So recognizing I needed to become an enabler of other people and stop just focusing on me trying to do everything. And I thought somehow I was protecting the people around me by doing everything. And I'm sure there's still some of that here today. So that's just like something you're constantly trying to figure out how to root out and the right timing for rooting that out so you can enable other people and help them be the heroes. Yeah. But I realized too, my compensation was tied to that. And this is quite a brilliant hack for marketing agencies and for business owners. If you want to change your behavior, your compensation is directly tied to your behavior. So this is the hack. As an entrepreneur, you started from nothing and you created something from it. That is your superpower. The problem is you don't use that superpower and your business is struggling because of it. You're the only person in the company who, when you're small, who can wield the superpower over and over and over again. So you need to wield it again. And I realized this about myself. I had not used that superpower of being willing to do something for nothing and to create value out of nothing and only pay myself if I created that value. So I did it. I decided to stop paying myself for the doing work I was doing, create a whole different role and responsibility for myself, and then base my compensation on my performance of doing that new role. And the crazy thing is, for years, I struggled with making an adjustment. But when I did that, I was in new habits in 3 months. Man, it took like a quarter for me to get into new habits on that.
I remember that.
Yeah.
And that approach that you're talking about, and I'll let you finish here for a sec. That approach that you're talking about is something that rarely comes up because you're so used to getting rewarded. And it's like the simple version is if you got paid to get up in the morning, get in your car, drive to the office, and that's the thing that you got rewarded for. If you got paid money to do that. But what you should be doing is getting up in the morning and taking a walk and exercising and spending time with your family.
Yeah.
If that's what you should be doing, these are really simple examples.
I love the example. Yeah, that's good.
Then you're doing the wrong thing. You're paying yourself for doing the wrong thing. And
that's right.
We're humans and we'll just continue to do the wrong thing because that's how we get paid.
Right.
And so what you're saying is you have to almost reinvent a way to pay yourself differently for the new things you have to do where you create value in the business, which is leading.
Yeah. And as the owner, you're the freest, you could think of it like that. It's kind of a weird way of thinking about it, but you're the most free to do that and make that choice, which I think is fun. Like we, as entrepreneurs, we kind of like the crazy and we want the challenge. Cool. Give yourself a great challenge. Make a crazy compensation plan that you're only going to be paid based upon being able to complete that thing. And the likelihood is that you will do it because, and this was the hack for me in my mind. I started thinking about, every time we have big success, usually that's kind of how I come at the problem. I play this game with myself and there's usually some sort of pay compensation to it. So I just started making that adjustment in my life. The other thing that happened too was I noticed this with a lot of entrepreneurs, their business is not disciplined financially. And the first thing that needs to happen is you discipline yourself. And when you discipline yourself, then the confidence comes. Because if you're sitting there taking money, and I love your example that you gave, and you're not doing your exercises in the morning, and you're not doing your responsibilities, but you're just taking money because you can, you're not going to discipline your business. And more like, not only will you not have the heart to do it, but other people will look at you and not want to listen. So and you will feel guilty if you fire them because you're really not doing it yourself. So
Right.
when you sit down and you like get honest with yourself and get yourself right sized and get to the truth of it on the true value that's there, and then you can explain that to others in the company and help them, then you can put performance pay systems in place, compensation plans. You can help them with right sizing their pay actually to their performance, which really interesting is that's a huge key to their professional development, that you're shortcutting or ignoring and not helping them grow if you don't have the right compensation plan in place. So, because everybody else is doing the same thing. Your exact illustration that you gave, everybody is doing that, because that's kind of where we go.
Hey, thank you for watching today's video. Wanted to take a little break here and ask you something. If you are a marketing agency owner and you're feeling successful about what you're doing in your agency, you're making money, things are going well, but you feel a little bit trapped and you're kind of searching for that next thing, that next big thing to solve, I just encourage you to stop for a second. And before you decide what to do next, learn your agency owner archetype. It's free. It teaches you about your personality and your identity and why your identity keeps you in a loop of making the same move over and over again, and makes it so that you and your agency are kind of stuck in the same place. Anyway, it's a great report. It only takes a few minutes to fill out. Get your agency owner archetype today, and thanks for watching. Talk to people about how we went through, because there's a couple of different ways to scale and bring on new people, right? Because there's this journey. I always tell everybody, look, not everybody's going to come along for the ride for various reasons. It could be something that is going on in their life that doesn't fit. It could be the changes we're making at the agency doesn't fit. And so there's people that stay with you for a while, and there's people that transition in and out. And I always have thought you had a really good way of approaching that, because we started going in and saying, well, look, we need to make room for people that are going to be the people at the next stage.
Yeah. We've really tried to adopt EOS, and I would say try only because we've self-implemented, and when you're self-implementing, you're always just trying. Now that we've hired a coach for EOS, it's become a lot clearer that you kind of really do need a coach to help you along the way. But on my last session with my EOS coach, we talked about this idea of right person and right seat, which is of course Jim Collins' thing, and but EOS adopted the concept and put some clarity around it. So the two thing right person would be core values, and Rockefeller Habits, of course, does this stuff too. It's just in a different way with EOS, and I like the structure of it. And then your core values are the right person. So whatever your core values are, there's a whole process for how you come up with your core values. They're not like they shouldn't be just words that everybody else uses. They actually should have meaning that are specific to you and your business, and you have to sit down and really think through it. You can't just sit down and be like, hey, does integrity sound like a good word? What do y'all think? Yeah, okay, yeah, sure. But there's no context behind it, because you're actually holding people accountable by the core values that you make. And so if you're going to sit down and fire them because they're not the right person, you need to tell them why. And if all you say is, well, integrity, that they have a different definition of integrity than what you have, it doesn't make any sense, right? So yeah. I think right person and then right seat gets it, wants it, capacity to do it. The right seat concept is if they get it, do they get the job? Do they want it? Do they actually have the capacity to do it? If that's a yes on everything, then keep the person. If it's a no on any of those, then you have to get rid of them. The right person one, if they don't get it on one of those, if they're like, sometimes they do it, sometimes they don't, that's okay. But typically in your 3 to 5 core values, you just kind of want that to be sometimes not, sometimes not getting it, sometimes getting it for one of those. And if it's a no for any one of those, you let them go as well. So I would say we got better at that process, putting the interview process in place, putting the right compensation structure in place. And we had to start getting rid of people, and we're still getting better at what that even means, how to get rid of people according to right people, right seat. You're really, when you start applying these things, I was talking to my coach about this, my EOS coach, and I was like, hey, look, across the board, you work with a lot of different personalities and a lot of different entrepreneurs. So tell me, like, when it comes to the secret of this right person, right seat, getting the right people on the bus, is it some are better than others at this, or is it really anybody can learn the principles, and if they apply the principles, it works? And he was talking about this stat of when they're applied properly, what kind of growth they get. So his response was, yes, anybody who learns these, doesn't matter the personality of the entrepreneur, when they just do the work and execute it, right people, right seat, then it works in their business. And every time he sees an average of about 30% growth in their company from when they do it. But this is definitely an area where it takes practice. I always think of golf swing, right? Yeah. You could have a perfect swing, get to position 1, 2, 3, or whatever, correct. But if you haven't practiced and hit balls for a while, you ain't going to hit them right. So you got to get in there and practice with hiring processes, working with people, helping to get to the root, helping people really in their professional development. If they're not a good fit for your business, they're a better fit somewhere else, and helping them along the way in that regard.
Well, what's interesting to me is, and I want to say it was either right before or right after the $1 million mark, where we started taking core values more seriously. And it's actually a process that you go through, or we went through, that, well, why is it at Fanit that we chose leadership, honesty, and expertise? Like, yeah. Why do we get down to those 3? What does that actually mean for our culture? Why do we choose those? What is it? Like, we had to spend time and effort on that. And that's something that nobody tells you when you're starting. Like, yeah, you see on websites, oh, we have these core values, and you think it's just like a marketing. No, it's like legit. You're programming the DNA of your business, and you have to know why you're doing it. Why does that matter to us? Talk to me a little bit about leadership, honesty, and expertise for Fanit. And the reason why I'm asking you this is because, A, I think we went through a great process to get there. And B, I think it's really important for agency owners who do need to bring in more of the right people that fit their culture. If they don't have it defined, they don't know how to bring in the right people. They might have the right seats, wrong people.
I think leadership, honesty, expertise, it's kind of like the 10 commandments. They're nice, but you have to apply them in the situation. And really your core values are only as good as when you bring them up in the situation where they need to be applied. That's just good discipline. Like when you're trying to discipline your kids or bring up your kids and help them. Well, you don't like, if you're just sitting there and lecturing them all the time and they're not like right in the middle of the problem, their ears are turned off. They're thinking about something else, right? But when you're in the middle of the problem and you've got their attention, perfect. Let's get that core value. Let's bring it out and let's talk about the application right then. So I think that's a huge one. Leadership, honesty, expertise. We try to keep it simple. We want to keep it simple. Why come up with complex stuff? People aren't going to remember. So keep it simple. Leadership, the idea of leadership is running to the problem. We want to hire leaders. Everybody has a different definition of leadership. And that's why honesty is sandwiched actually between leadership and expertise, because honesty brings it home. It's the glue to both of those. You need to be an honest person. Well, what does that mean? Well, the simple of it is, we'll lie on purpose. And so, if you're lying on purpose and you've got a problem with that, like, when somebody applies to a job, I'm dealing with this right now, and somebody applies to a job and I ask them a question, have you worked at a digital marketing agency and have you managed monthly recurring revenue? And they say yes on those questions. And then I get on an interview with them and they haven't. That's a lie. And that means that you will not be going forward anymore. So any sort of lying that's done on purpose is unacceptable. But that's not the thing that we manage in our day-to-day life. It's the stuff that we do on accidents. It's the lying that we do on accident. That's the problem. Lying is, you could call it unintentional. So you have intentional and unintentional lying. Unintentional lying is the stuff where you made a commitment, but you can't make the commitment for some reason. So you overshot it. You overpromised and underdelivered. That's what we do with our clients. It happens, and we have to make it right, and we have to root that out. That comes down to our systems and how they're set up, our standard operating procedures, the people we hire and whether they show up or not. All of those things that are seemingly out of our control, but they're still unintentional dishonesty. And this comes to the extreme ownership concept by Jocko Willink. Extreme ownership says, I don't care if it felt like it was out of my control. I was the leader and it's all on me. And I need to root out that unintentional dishonesty. So you can look at it from the business standpoint. You can also look at it from the personal standpoint with your commitments you've made to others around you. I was just thinking about this idea that one of the things I believe most entrepreneurs would say and agree upon is that they want to give back. They want to build something that gives back. Well, giving back requires somebody to be someone who carefully plans. And what I mean by carefully plan is you don't commit to too much. You commit to a plan that you can do, that you will execute. And in that, you'll be able to give back for sure. But if you commit to too much, you're overpromising, under-delivering. So honesty is rooting out unintentional dishonesty personally and also professionally. But if you're doing that, now you can lead correctly, because you can lead in the thing that you've committed to. If we say to somebody as a company, hey, I want you to be a great leader. Are you a great leader? Cool. All right, we're going to give you 20 things to lead. Oh, look at that. You failed. Well, we're just setting them up for failure. That's unintentional dishonesty. Right. Also, we're not helping them in their expertise, because if they're focused on 20 different things, they're never going to get good at anything. So we have to help them in their expertise to focus in on the thing that they can become good at. And then by becoming good at it, you get an understanding of what they can be great at. And that's how we help people in their professional career. And that's really all expertise is. It's helping people advance from being a person who's like, yeah, I'll try a bunch of different stuff. Cool. Hey, it looks like you're good at that. Great. Awesome. Should we go deeper on one of these? Yeah, let's go here. Cool. Hey, we failed there. All right, let's try something different. Hey, you actually had success here. Great. Let's have you do more of that, and let's help you become better at it. But that only happens by rooting out that unintentional dishonesty.
It's almost like you have to know who your agency wants to become, just like you have to know who those people you hire want to become within that. And you're kind of matching the two. Yeah. What's the role you're in right now? And kind of what are your plans for the next role?
I used to call myself CEO, and really I was the chief of many hats. And jokingly, that's what people internally would call me. And we would laugh about it. But it was the truth, because I think at the time I was doing a lot of search engine optimization execution for clients. Well, how could I be CEO of the company, and what that truly means, somebody growing the business from outside means, and be doing SEO? That kind of doesn't make sense. So I think over the years I've tried different roles in the company, and I've tried to help with the overall vision and focus and where we're going. So I've played some financial roles there as well. But I would say right now I'm just a growth partner of Fanit. I'm helping the leadership team to grow, and I want to be replaced, and so I can actually be in what EOS would call the owner box. You have your org structure, or your accountability chart, which would be the really the EOS term for that. And at the very top, you just have an owner box where owners sit up there, and they help the team that's in the day to day do what they need to do. The visionary, the integrator, and then your marketing, sales, ops, and finance leaders. So right now, I'm trying to actively work within that box to support the team and build that leadership team, and trying to give them full autonomy and being able to make the decisions they need to make to build that next level team. We're kind of at that awkward level. And for those agencies out there who've already passed this, you understand this, but we're about 1.7 million a year. And for that agency that's around that mark, you're in this strange, you need to build your leadership team, but you don't have the money for it. So you're trying to figure out how to get the right people in the right seat fractionally, or maybe you make a deal with somebody for equity. We've done both of those, by the way, and we won huge on finding somebody on the equity side. Huge. So that's a great play. I do like that play. I like partners. But you have to find somebody fractionally to fill those other seats as you're trying to play more in that owner box. About 3 million you can afford closer to full time in those roles, and so things get a lot more stable. But we're just kind of in that awkward limbo phase right now. Maybe another thing I could just mention, another business coach told me this, and I thought it was a simple concept. It's this idea that one of the things that he ran into, the biggest blocker, he said, with entrepreneurs, and it doesn't necessarily matter. Like, you think of revenue and size, that doesn't necessarily matter. You could be doing 100 million a year and still have this bottleneck, but it's for sure apparent in small business. But you have a certain natural skill as a business owner. And you kind of learn by playing what that natural skill is, playing the game. And he related it to baseball, where maybe you have high school level, then you have college level, and then you advance to the semi-pro league or whatever. You're more familiar with that stuff, Tony. Yeah. But you eventually end up in the pros, but there's multiple like A, B, levels there. He said, you got to think about your natural skill like that, because some business owners you're comparing yourself to, but they are just naturally a lot more gifted. They can play in the pro leagues, and you're sitting there trying to keep up with them, but you really can't. But guess what you can do? You can buy that. But a lot of these business owners stay stuck because they're wanting to prove something, and they have that goal of, I want to grow. Yes, you want to grow, but at the same time, you don't have the talent. So you got to go buy it. And I thought that was a really cool illustration. So it's important to check your ego in that regard. Recognize that if your business is at a ceiling, it's probably because of a talent capability that you just don't have. You can go try to learn it and earn it, or you can go buy it. And I've just recognized like that probably most of the time we need to go out and buy it, because talent, like top talent, you're talking 1% of the 1%. Are you really there? Like that's a pretty small percentage. So,
well, the message behind what you're saying is, just because you hit that wall and maybe come to this self-realization, you don't have to give up.
No, yeah.
I know there's times when I've gone through this where I'm like, I just can't hang. Like, I should just hang it up. Like, what am I going to do? That's like despair that you get into. And what you're really saying is, no, though, there's other ways to do this. There's just some humbling you have to go through, and some self-reflection and realization that there is another way to get through it. So
Yeah.
I really love that message. Hey,
Yeah.
Thanks, Keith, for having the conversation, and you always bring really thoughtful answers and wisdom to our conversation. So thank you. I really
Awesome, man.
appreciate you.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you for that feedback.